What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turf Talk. It's your boy Scotty here. As you guys know, you can find me on Twitter at Scotty Drown. I'm here with my co-host Dylan JD98. You guys all know him as Dylan Davis. Find him on Twitter at Dylan JD98. You're watching us on DSM Media. Excuse me. You're watching us on DSM Media. Make sure you're following DSM Media on all the social platforms, but specifically Twitter if you want to stay the most up to date with us at DSM_media. We're here. We're kicking off the NFL season. We're excited. How are you feeling tonight, Dylan? Football is back, my man.
Football is back, Scott. Let's freaking go. You know, it felt like it last night when we were live at Throwback Sports Lounge in Hockessin, Delaware, as Phil informed me. It's not Hockessin, it's Hockessin, Delaware. Adam, what's going on, man? It was nice to meet you last night as well.
Yes, sir.
It felt like, it was right around the corner. And then today I woke up and I'm like, it's just the air. You walk outside and the air smells and feels different. And football's back. No, it's not the Eagles, but we will be talking some Eagles tonight, some final record predictions for the Birds tonight. We're going to get into our Super Bowl projections, our playoff rankings, and we're going to talk Bucs Cowboys, as you can see in our background tonight. But guys, before we start, I just want to give a thank you and a shout out to each and every one of you, everyone who follows us, everyone who views our show and content. Because if you haven't known, last Sunday's episode of Turf Talk is over 2,000 views, our first ever show to eclipse 2,000 views. So thank you so much for everyone that tuned in and commented along for that show. And just let's have a good ride. Let's have a fun and exciting NFL season. Every Thursday night at 7, every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. You can join myself and Scott.
That is right. So what do we want to do, man? Do we want to just dive right in, get into the football talk tonight? We're starting with Eagles, right? We're going Eagles.
Yeah. We'll let's knock the Eagles out of the way, and then we can really dive into tonight's
game. Get into the real stuff tonight. We'll get into the whole NFL for you. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to start with the updated schedule release. Obviously, we did our original ranking or our original schedule release episode.
Yeah.
Went through the schedule,
Long time ago.
Losses. Man, have things changed. So tonight we're going to go through it again. We're going to kind of reevaluate, see where we're standing now. I know Dylan's in a different mindset, different point with the Eagles. So we'll get into that, go through that quickly, and then we'll get into some playoff Super Bowl predictions for the entire NFL. But let's get into this Eagles talk, man. How do you want to do it? Do you want to go through each game? What do you want to do it, man?
We don't have to bore the people with going who you got this week, like we did before. I'll give my record. You can give your record, and we can kind of just look at the stretches of games that we think they might struggle with, stretches of games that are winnable, etc. I'm going to come out and I'll say it right now, Scott. I'm going to throw this to you. I've been on record all season calling them probably around 7 wins, right around that over/under number of 6.5 that's set at many sports books. I go through this schedule, and I can't help but find myself at the number 9. I have them at 9 and 8. No, theoretically that should win this division. No, I am not picking them to win this division because I just don't think they're there yet. I had to see it more, something tangible to watch before I can make that claim. But 9, and it's not so much because of the Eagles. I mean, it is. I like this revamped defense. I like the new coaching staff, Jalen Hurts. There's a lot of ifs. This schedule's weak, Scotty. The first 5-6 games aren't weak, but after that, there's so many winnable games where it's like, okay, are the Eagles definitely going to win these games? No. But can I sit here and claim that they're not better than the Broncos? Are they not better? Obviously, the Lions, the Jets, are they not better than the Chargers at home? They beat the Saints last year with Jalen Hurts at home. Now they have the Saints with Jameis Winston. Are they not better than the Saints at home this year? I don't know. So I have them at 9 and 8, and we can kind of get into the schedule in a minute. But what do you got, dude?
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I'm right at that 9 and 8 mark. We kind of talked about it on Phil's trending for 4 quarters last night at the live event, but I'm sitting right at that 9 win mark. I got a little bit of a different layout for sure. To be completely honest with you and our listeners, I know that it's not going to look anything like what I'm predicting.
I know. They'll win games. We got losses. They'll lose the games. We got wins.
There's so many teams in there, and I know everybody is like downplaying the Eagles. I saw Colin Cowherd had them at like 3 wins. earlier
He also
today.
said something about Andre Dillard. So
He's so out of touch of Philadelphia market,
man.
everything, man. He just
Better.
talks the talk.
Yep.
And then, he was on with some other guy talking bets and stuff like that, saying how the Eagles have an old offensive line, all this stuff. I'm looking at this schedule, and I told you before the show, if this was last season's schedule with this season's team, no, I wouldn't have them at 9 wins. I mean, last season's schedule was a gauntlet when you look at the amount of contenders that we played. This season, I'm looking at our schedule. There are 2 contenders that we play on the schedule, the Chiefs and the Bucs. That's it. That's the only game where I'm like, man, we are not winning those. I go down the list. I'll give them to you. I got Falcons as a W.
Agreed.
I got the 49ers as a W. That's very optimistic of me as a 2-0, but I'm going off that home crowd. That home crowd's going to be back in the link. I think the Eagles are going to fly in the link, that home opener against the 49ers. I do have a loss against the Cowboys week 3, loss against the Chiefs, obviously.
Agreed.
I do have a W against the Panthers. That's one of those tweener games.
I have a loss there, but it could be a win.
Then I have the loss to the Bucs. I have a loss to the Raiders.
I have a win there. It's
in Las Vegas, so I was thinking West Coast trip, maybe a lag. I don't know, but I gave them a loss there. Lions a W. It's our revenge game against Jared Goff.
But you do realize, like, it's the Cubs, as we talked about weeks ago. It's the Cubs. But you realize now that we're saying this, the Lions, now that's a W. That's going to be a game that the Eagles drop this year.
Yeah, exactly. So you're giving some great perspective there. I do have a loss against the Chargers, although they're coming to Philly, man. They're coming across the country.
Very as a loss as well.
Broncos, I have as a loss. I think they have a really good defense. It's a winnable game. Teddy Bridgewater?
I'm sorry. Let me reverse that. I have a Chargers win at home, a loss in Mile High. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. And makes sense. I mean, Mile High is a tough place to play. They got a great defense. Offense, we'll see what the Broncos offense is looking like, but they got a ton of weapons. Saints, I have a W. I feel like we're going to have the Saints number now that Drew Brees is gone. He's a guy that torched us. Jameis Winston's a guy that's going to make some mistakes, let us stay in that game. And it's in Philly. I don't know if the Saints have adjusted to playing out of that dome. I highly doubt it. I have a loss against the Giants. Part of me feels like we're going to sweep the Giants. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm modest there. I have a W against the Jets, loss against the Washington football team. I got a W against the Giants. We split with them, split with Washington. I have a W there. And then I have a W against the Cowboys at the end of the season.
Now, let me ask you this. Were there games you just mentioned, the Giants game, where you think we're going to sweep them, but you put it as a loss? I share the same feeling, and I did the same thing. Did you do that because you just can't mark this team as a double-digit win team? Because that's what I did. I bounced around the schedule, right? Jets win, Lions win, Giants at home win, Cowboys I went through, right, and I picked out, and all of a sudden I got like 8 wins really quick, and I'm like, whoa.
Got to slow down.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, the Panthers, I think they can win that game.
Yeah.
But I marked it as a loss because I'm not comfortable or confident putting this team at 10-7 or anything better yet. I think 9-8 is my ceiling right now. I think with the schedule, I think they could for sure, go above that and exceed those numbers if everything goes correctly.
Yeah.
But I think I marked some losses down simply out of necessity because I won't put them as a double-digit win team yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. The only team that I think in the division that could sweep us is the Washington football team. I think, that defense, if Ryan Fitzpatrick's throwing the money,
kills us every time.
That's a team that could beat us. They got a decent running game with Gibson. They got some wide receivers on the outside. But the Cowboys, we'll see what the Cowboys look like tonight. Maybe my opinion changes on them, but I have a lot of big question marks. I know everybody has question marks about the Eagles. Don't think he'll lose to the Cowboys. The Cowboys defense.
I know.
It's hard for me to be sold on the Cowboys right now. And you mix in with
the big issue though, Scott.
Offensive line.
The big issue is all the ifs. That's why we're trying our best to make predictions right now. But we're not confident in anything, right? I completely disagree with the people that try to tell me they're confident in certain matchups, certain games, because let me say this, right? We keep sitting here saying how bad the Cowboys defense is, and it is. we have no idea what this Eagles offense is going to be.
Yeah,
We
that's fair.
want it to be fun and fast and exciting and explosive. And we want Jalen Hurts to exceed expectations. And we want Miles Sanders to have a breakout year. We want Nick Sirianni to be this great play caller. We have no idea. So to say, well, the Dallas Cowboys defense is really bad, the Eagles are going to put up points, we don't know that. It's just a hope at this point.
Yeah, and we can't, be overly optimistic about the Eagles, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie and, lie to myself about what I've seen throughout training camp, throughout the preseason, throughout, just seeing what Nick Sirianni's about so far.
It's also feelings, man. You can't in real life, Scotty, you got a girl. You can't fight feelings, man. Eagles season, listen, September 9th rolls around, they kick off on the 12th. I can't fight these feelings of optimism, Scott. As much as I want to, I can't fight them.
No, I feel you. And it's just going to come with the territory when you got question marks. We're going to be optimistic. We're going to buy in. By the end of week one, if we beat Atlanta in Atlanta, we're going to be going through walls, man. There's no other way to put it. You look at this Eagles team, if they come out week one, beat Atlanta in Atlanta with a new head coach, with a fresh quarterback. Obviously, Jalen started 4 games last year. He's coming out. He's a first-year starter. Let's be honest. And you throw them out there in that first game in a way volatile environment, and they win. How can I not be optimistic after that? Yeah. Now, obviously, they can bring us right back down to earth when they play a tough San Fran team in Philly the next week.
So we have them at 9-8, and I really, it is an NFL kickoff show. The Patriots. I keep saying that with Tampa.
Tom Brady.
Oh my God, it's Tampa now, not Tom in New England. Tom in Tampa. Okay, with Tampa and the Cowboys kicking off, and we want to get to all that soon. But there's 2 things I want to throw your way. When you look at this schedule, there's 2 parts of it that stand out to me. A is the Final 4. Our division games, which in a tight division race could turn out to be crucial. And A is the part that stuck out to me from the beginning. We keep talking about how easy this schedule is. Through week 6 is not easy.
Right. That's
what's going to set the tone this year, Scott. Right. That's why an Atlanta win is so important, because San Fran at home, we picked it as a W. Very easily could be a loss, right? Cowboys on the road, Monday Night Football. I have it as a loss. Panthers could be a win, or Chiefs, Bucs, Panthers on the road. You get my point. If this young team starts out 1-5, that territory, 2-6, somewhere in that area, that's not good, because I'm not comfortable thinking that they can overcome that mental hurdle of starting a season 1-5 and win 3 or 4 in a row to get back into things, or even play competitive football. So I think the beginning of the schedule is very tough and important to win the Atlanta game, to maybe squeak out a win. If you lose versus San Fran, you got to beat Carolina in Carolina, or Dallas in Dallas, something like that, because you can't start 1-5.
And they got to know that coming into the season. There's guys on this team too. We were talking about all these young guys at skill positions, young guys at the quarterback. Look at our defensive line, our offensive line. That's where the leadership is coming from. Obviously, Jalen Hurts has shown he's a great leader. I'm not trying to, discredit him. But the veterans on the offensive line and the defensive line, they bring experience. They've been through this before. They know what slow starts do to teams having to fight back up that hill. Even if you are able to fight back, by the time you get to the playoffs, you're beat up if you have to do that down the stretch. You got to take care of business early. Not so you can rest at the end or take it easy, just so you don't have that extra pressure. And, when they go down, if they go down 1-3, 1-4, the town's going to be talking, right? If Philadelphia is home of pressure,
they're going to freak out.
It is all
the level-headed, this is a retool year, goes out the window at 1 p.m. this Sunday. Okay, so they start out 1-4. People are going to Gardner Minshew mania time.
Yeah,
it's not right. Crazy. It's not fair, but that's how this city and fan base reacts. Scott, the last thing I'll throw your way is we talked identity last night on Trending for 4 Quarters with Phil, and I mentioned the defense, and that is why I have this team at the 9-win mark right now, because injury dependent, if they can stay healthy, I think this is a top 10 unit. At least top 12, but I think they're a top 10 unit. When you add an Ant Harris and Steven Nelson to a Darius Slay-led secondary, we know what this defensive front is. We know they were top 3 or 5 in sacks last year, led the league in sacks for half the year with how poorly that defense was built and played. So we know what the front's going to be. You add 2 really good secondary pieces to a core that has Darius Slay already. And I don't think the linebackers are going to kill you. Eric Wilson's a decent piece. If Alex Singleton I truly believe they're going to at least be a top 12, if not top 10 unit. I think that's going to keep them in a lot of games with this easy schedule. And if Jalen Hurts exceeds expectations, that's how you come to around 9 wins. If he really exceeds expectations, that's how you reach double-digit, division winning type of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, I tend to agree with you, man. I'm looking at the defense, everything you said, right? The thing I'm looking at the most, even more than the additions, because they made some great additions, some great hole plugging there with Eric Wilson, Harris, Steven Nelson. Scheme. I mean, we have complained for how many years about Jim Schwartz's scheme, playing the corners 10, defense. 15 yards back, like sticks defense. Like, we can't play defense like that, and we're not anymore. We got Jonathan Gannon. Now, we'll see. He's a first-time defensive coordinator. We'll see how he calls the defense. I want to see an aggressive defense. You need to send some blitzes. I just want to see them come out firing. I want to see them. You know what? I miss Jim Johnson. I miss him, dude. I miss
great Jimmy J.
And obviously they had some great talent on that team as well, but just the whole scheme of just attacking an offense, putting them on their heels. That's what I want to see this season. I think we got the guys to do it.
I'm with you, and that's going to be a key to victory this Sunday, and obviously we're going to save that for Sunday's edition of Turf Talk starting at 10 a.m. this Sunday. Quick plug. But yeah, man, I'm with you. And that's the last thing. I think their identity is going to be built on the defensive side. And I think they're going to be built in the trenches. I think both of their deepest and most talented units are their offensive and defensive line. And that's where they will have to impose their will the season. So I think that's it. I love that we're both at 9 and 8. I think that's more than fair. I think that's actually, more than a lot of people's expectations. So 9 and 8 is what Scotty and I have the Eagles finishing this year. Who knows? Could be a game higher, could be 2-3 games less. We don't know. That's what's so exciting about this team this season.
Yeah.
Scott, is it time?
It's time,
man. Is it time to kick off the NFL 2021 season?
Yes.
What do you want to start with? Do you want to get to our season predictions, our playoff predictions, or do you want to jump into this Tampa Bay Cowboys game tonight?
So we got Jason coming in at the end for some gambling tips, some fantasy stuff. I'm thinking let's go Bucs Cowboys last.
Okay.
That way we're going right before the game. We get a nice little pregame show in there. We can go through our Super Bowl
with our playoff rankings right now. Now, I did not rank these. I don't have a bracket. I don't have a 1 seed, 2 seed, 6 seed, everything like that. I just have my division winners and my wild card team, Scott. So if you want to start off, we can kind of go division by division here. We'll start in the AFC. I think we're both going to agree for the most part in at least 3 of these divisions. Who do you have winning the AFC West? I think that's a clear and obvious answer for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And don't get me wrong, I like these young Broncos, the young Chargers out there. It's the Chiefs, dude. I mean, they've gotten better. I'll leave it at that.
Barring injury to a major proponent on offense,
yes,
they are the division winner, and they're going to win 12 games, if not a little more. Coming in the AFC East, I got the Bills winning this division. I really don't think there's any competition. I like what Miami did on both sides of the ball, to be honest with you. I love their young talent. I'm not saying that Tua is gonna be the guy this year. So I got the Bills winning this division.
Same. They're the household name in that division now, and it's crazy to think about. But they have the best quarterback in the division now, right? They have Josh Allen. It's not Tom Brady in that division anymore. And, I think New England, I think they're going to be competitive. I really did like what I saw out of Mac Jones specifically in the preseason. Obviously, he was going against like our third stringers, but still looked confident out there. I did like what I saw. Young quarterback. They have a pretty good, solid defense. I honestly think they're still lacking weapons. I know they spent a lot of money in the offseason.
Yeah, because they paid 19 tight ends, it felt like.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry.
What they do, they realistically, they went out and got Nelson Aguilar, and we know all too well.
So happy about that, right? But we were so happy to see him leave. So, Patriots, we'll see. Miami, I would say they're the number 2 team in that division for me.
Well, you mean the Patriots aren't?
Though.
The Patriots aren't on your top 5 Super Bowl list, like Stephen A. Smith?
I don't know where he came up with that shit. I don't. Mac Jones is a Super Bowl contender quarterback. I guess.
All right, then let's get into the AFC South. There's 2 teams to me that can win this division. Yeah. But I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to go with that offensive firepower. Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, AJ Brown, Ryan Tannehill's got some MVP odds in his favor this year. I like the Titans to win this division but I'll say like 11-6.
Yeah, I got the Titans as well, and I think they are. I don't know. I like the Colts. I do. I'm very unsure of the Carson Wentz thing, and part of it is coming from an Eagles fan perspective, and I have bought into Carson Wentz so many times in my life already that I don't know if I can buy in again. But if he comes out and plays well for the Colts, I won't say that I'm surprised either, because I've seen it before. I've seen him play good before. And if he plays good, they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to compete for that division. Their defense is really good as well. I do have the Titans as of right now, though. It's hard to think that anybody's going to have an answer for that offense. That offense, it's almost like we just started talking about it, I feel like, but it has not been talked about enough, I feel like. Around universally. Like, I don't think it's been talked about enough, but you're talking about Derrick Henry.
When is the last time we've seen this?
Positions. I'm talking about freak of nature, stature guys at skill positions.
When is the last time we saw this, dude?
Julio. These are freaks of natures, freakishly.
With the rushing champ in the backfield.
Yeah, a guy that you can't. He's bigger than your linebacker. He's bigger than your defensive lineman. Like, do what you can.
I don't know the last time we saw it, but I'm being serious.
Quarterback now. He's a good quarterback.
Like, the first team that came to mind was a couple years ago with the Steelers when they had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown was at the top of the wide receiving group in this league. Yeah. And Ben was, but that was only 2.
Yeah.
You're talking a top 3 running back, if not the best overall running back. I'm not talking fantasy football. He was the rushing champ last year. He's a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry. And then you have AJ Brown and Julio Jones. I don't know the last time we saw 3 of the best skill position players in the same offense. Now, their defense isn't great or very good, but I think this offense is going to be good enough to win 10 or 11 games. All right, last division in the AFC. This is one of the toughest divisions in football, probably the second toughest division in football, in my opinion. I'm going to go with the Browns. I'm going to go with the Browns because I think they know what they're good at, and they stick to it.
Yeah.
They pound the freaking rock down your throat until you stop it, and you can't stop it because they have 2 of the best running backs in the game, the best duo in the game, 1-2 punch of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They use Baker extremely well at this point in his career. They know what he's good at. He feeds off that run, the play action, bootlegs, the rolling him out. OBJ is back healthy. Jarvis Landry. I believe they still have both tight ends of Austin Hooper and David Njoku. I could be wrong, but I think they have both still.
I'm pretty sure they got
pretty good line. They go out and they add Jadeveon Clowney if he can stay healthy with Myles Garrett and that defense. I think they win that division. And with these Ravens injuries coming up, I think they win it by at least 2 games.
Yeah, and I got the Browns as well. You mentioned their defense. They also added a nice rookie there in JOK, who we could have definitely snapped in that second round. But he's very versatile, very athletic. He's going to be very useful for them. They can put him all over the field. But I'm also looking at that offense. I'm looking at Baker Mayfield, man. And, I just feel like this man has been disrespected so many times. Coming out of college, he was, the star athlete coming out of college, got off to a rough start on the fucking Cleveland Browns. Like, The Cleveland Browns, and we're like throwing them in the garbage can. You know what I mean? It was the Browns, the lowest of the low for a long time. They're not those same Browns anymore, and Baker's not that same Baker. And I think this season is perfect for him. He has no pressure because the team around him is ridiculous. And I think we could see Baker take that next step. And if Baker takes that next step, they're Super Bowl contenders.
For sure.
Period.
Dude, listen to me. If Baker is the same as he was last year, I think they're in the conversation.
They're in the convo.
They're at least in the convo. If he takes a step.
What if he is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL statistically, regardless of what you think of him? What if he is just top 10?
Dude, that's why and again, we're going to talk about it on Sunday. It's definitely going to be one of our matchups we look at outside the Eagles game. But that Browns-Chiefs matchup at 4:00 is going to be a lot of fun to talk about.
AFC Championship potential.
Yeah, so you're going to see it very, very quickly. But I'm with you, dude. If he's a top 10 quarterback, that's a great team. Yeah. And to me, at that point, then it moves the conversation. I know we just praised the Titans offense, but to me, that makes the Chiefs, Bills, and Browns fight it out for the AFC title.
Yeah, I would tend to.
It's hard to pay. I know people just want to scream Chiefs, right? That's the easy way to go. Overall, are the Chiefs a better team than the Browns? You don't know that. They just have one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen already. So that's what happens there. But all right, so those are our division winners in the AFC. Let's get to the wild card. Now, I could change this by Sunday because of late injuries coming up, leading into showtime here. But I have the Ravens as the first wild card. That their defense is ferocious. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, he has his struggles in the playoffs. I'm not a believer in playoff Lamar, but he puts up numbers and wins games in the regular season. But now, man, Gus Edwards goes down after J.K. Dobbins goes down. Marcus Peters has a big-time injury now. It seems like that they're fearful of. They could be in trouble, so I might be changing this. But as of right now, I got to stick with what I got at the Ravens in the wild card.
So, I'll kind of follow up on that because it's perfect because, I moved the Ravens right out of my wild card. And, I was going to have the Browns winning that division regardless.
Right.
But I did have the Ravens as the number 2 team. More than the running backs, the loss of Marcus Peters is what really sticks out to me, especially in that division where defense is going to be really important when you're going against some of these offenses. You're even looking at a team in Cincinnati where that's not some pushover team. We'll see what Joe Burrow is like coming off the torn ACL, but they at least have a competent offense. But then you go up the line. You have the Steelers who have a plethora of weapons. They got a new running back in Najee Harris, young
97-year-old quarterback who can't.
Yeah, that's we'll see. But as far as the weapons on the outside, they got a plethora of them. And then you go up, the Ravens, the Browns. But with that loss to Marcus Peters, it definitely worries me. The running back situation does not help, and ultimately, it just seems like there's some bad juju going on in Baltimore, which is why I'm just kind of staying away from them. So I actually went to Steelers in the wild card. I moved them into Baltimore's slot. I think the Steelers' defense is probably just as good as Baltimore's, but I think, with the running back situation, there's a ton of pressure that's going to be on Lamar Jackson now, unnecessarily. It didn't have to be like this. And I think it ultimately comes back to hurt them. You know what I mean? So I'm going Steelers as my first wild card team there.
Yeah, that might be what I'm going to fall into line with that one by Sunday. I just didn't have it. I saw the injury as I was driving home. I'm like, oh boy, I have them in the wild card. And that's not to say, listen, the tough thing is to say Gus Edwards makes them a non-playoff team is ridiculous. But the loss of your 1 and 2 running backs who, with the Lamar, were one of the best rushing attacks in the game. The base of your offense is gone now. Yeah, so now that forces
They've lost Lamar, 1, 2, and 3. And you can even say 4 if you count Mark Ingram leaving to the Texans. Yeah. But they also lost Justice Hill as well. He was the 3rd string. So they're down into the practice squad.
I think I said Russ there by accident. You know what I meant. I meant Lamar Jackson. And then Marcus Peters is the big blow, right?
Yeah.
Wait, a couple weeks ago, didn't LJ Fort go out for the year?
LJ Fort is out. Yeah, that's a good call.
So they're banged up. So that's I can see the Steelers definitely going there. My second wild card is something you actually teased earlier, and we don't share our predictions here. So, but I had the Colts coming in the wild card there. I think that defense is that good the Frank Reich Carson Wentz connection, if he can stay healthy. The fact that he's supposed to start week 1 after some people thought, oh, the Eagles are losing that first round pick contingency now because he's going to be out for the year. I'm hopeful that he plays a decent amount of football for that first round pick. But I think it works, dude. I really do. They don't have a ton of weapons, but I think they're going to run the ball well. They have a very good offensive line, which is going to give him time. He just has to be more of a. In Philly, his problem was in the last year or two, ever since that 4-game stretch at the end of 2019, he had to play hero ball. And I don't think he couldn't stop doing that last year to a fault, right? Yeah. As long as he can stop that for the most part and pick his spots and just be a game manager and controller with this offense and that defense, they're a playoff team. They might win the division if he figures that out. But yeah, I got them as the second wild card there. They could bump up to number 1 with the Ravens being on the back burner now.
Yeah. No, I do. I like the Colts. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have them as a wild card team as highly as I did tease at it earlier. But at the same time, the last team that I'll mention later very easily could put them over. And, even with your explanation there,
I wonder if we have the same third team. I wonder if we have the same third team.
I'm kind of leaning, even just based off what you said right there, I'm kind of leaning towards the Colts anyways. But
I'm a very persuasive man. So
hey, I told you before the show, man, your mic sounds really good.
Oh,
so
thank you.
It might have an effect on there. But second wild card team in the AFC, and this one might be a little bit of a surprise, but I have the Chargers, man.
Oh, that's my number 3.
Okay, so we are on the same page there. But man, I don't know if it's off season or what I saw last season, but I have bought into the Justin Herbert hype. I'm a Justin Herbert fan. I look for him for all my fantasy teams this season. Really loved what he showed last season. He showed confidence of a franchise quarterback. But you look at the weapons on the outside. They still got Keenan Allen. They still got Mike Williams, another solid receiver. They picked up Jared Cook from the Saints end spot. And then you get Eckler back, which is huge for Justin Herbert. He played most of the season without Eckler last season. Eckler's great at catching passes out of the backfield, running the football. I did see he's a little banged up in training camp lately, but looking good. He's looking good to go for the season. I'm sure they're just being cautious. But then I look at the defense, the star power they got over there with the Bosa brother, and then Derwin James, who could be the best safety in the NFL, if we're being honest. So
Facts.
I think the Chargers have a very young, prospectful team, and I think they could make the jump this season.
Yeah, I got them as my number 3, like I said, so no argument out there, and you just explained everything for me. So I'm a Justin Herbert believer. Justin Herbert and, Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes and all those guys. Well, Patrick Mahomes sat out his first year, but you get the point. They are the explanation for why in today's game you just throw quarterbacks out there and see if they can fly. Yeah. So the Justin Fields, the Trey Lances of the world, the Mac Jones, the people that are, well, I don't know if he's ready. Well, we didn't know anything about Justin Herbert until Tyrod Taylor had his lung punctured or whatever by a team medical doctor. Okay. Justin Herbert goes out there and he flies. Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott. So you just have to see with those guys. But yeah, I'm a Justin Herbert guy. Keenan Allen is in my top 10 wide receiving group. He's the best route runner or one of them in football. And I like their defense a lot too. So I'm with you.
Yeah. So we're in on the Chargers.
I feel like I know who you got at number 3.
You want to guess?
You got Miami?
Yep, I do, man. You got me. Trust me, man. I was on the fence. It was between. I was thinking the Patriots, but for the same reasons I mentioned earlier, I just can't put them in the playoffs with Mac Jones at quarterback. But you could go on a limb and say the same thing about the Dolphins with Tua at the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I can't buy into it yet.
The only thing I would say about the Dolphins is that I think they have a better plethora of weapons. So
sure. Listen to me.
Yeah.
Dude. I love what they have on offense. And I really like their defense as well, too. I think their defense is a top 10 unit, probably. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
The question is Tua.
Yes.
The fact that he was unable to outperform Ryan Fitzpatrick at this stage of his career last year consistently. Now it's a new year, full year of camp. Who knows? Maybe he will. I'm not a believer in Tua yet, if ever. So that's why I can't do that.
Man. He's got to show us something. And the problem for me about Tua is that, it almost feels like coming out of Miami camp, it's almost like they're not sold on him either. You know what I mean? So you're looking at Tua. He's got a lot of question marks, just like Jalen Hurts, But I don't know. The Miami talent-wise, I love the skill set positions. but I do love their defense. They're a defense that causes turnovers. They score. And an aggressive defense like that could will them into the playoffs. I'm not going to lie to you. You persuaded me. I am leaning more towards the Colts to get that last spot. I do think, Adam just said it there. Waddle will be good. He's a very versatile receiver. They're going to use him all over the field. You can use him in kick returns anywhere. He's a speedster. But I am kind of leaning towards the Colts making the playoffs there. They also have a solid defense. They have a better running game, better offensive line. And ultimately, I would still say Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Tua.
I would hope so.
Regardless
of how people feel about Carson Wentz from last year, if anyone ranks Tua Tagovailoa or however you say his last name, we know him as Tua, okay? If you rank Tua above him, there's an issue here, okay? Because you know what you've seen from Carson previous to last year, and all you have is Tua getting benched for Fitzpatrick last year. In a playoff hunt, mind you. It's not like they were down and out of it and he was getting beat up. No, they were contending for a playoff spot, and they chose to go with Fitzpatrick at times last year. So whatever. I don't disagree, dude. If Tua proves me wrong, I really like Miami. A lot. I think they can be a lot of fun.
Do you think of them? And I don't want to say the Eagles' defense is up as high as Miami's, because I do think Miami has one of the best defenses in the league. At least explosive-wise, aggressive-wise. Do you look at them as
similarly?
Maybe the AFC version of the Eagles?
I know. For sure. Because you have the unknown of the quarterback. You have speed and some weapons around each, right? So Miami's got Waddle and Devontae Parker and Myles Gaskin and Jalen Waddle and Will Fuller at their suspension. The Eagles have Goddard and Ertz and Sanders and Devontae Smith and Rager and everything. So, and defensively, they could both be top 10, top 12 units. Man.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I think, you could go a couple different ways. That's how it is at the beginning of the season. You're making predictions. We'll see how it plays out. Let's get into these NFC division winners, and we'll get Jason in here right after this.
Yeah, we can go through this a little quicker. They took a little longer than I thought.
A little bit quicker. Get Jason in here, get these fantasy picks, and get some gambling started here. So I'll go first this time since you went first last time.
You can just run through your division winners, then I'll go, and then.
Got you. So number one, well, let me not put it as number one, but just my first one I have on the list here. So I have the NFC West. I got the LA Rams winning the NFC West. Big Matthew Stafford guy. I love Matthew Stafford. I think he's the key to the Rams potentially getting to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to lie to you. I think of him that high. And, I do love, obviously, they have one of the best defenses in NFL. They're led by Aaron Donald, one of the best, if not, one of the best defensive linemen, pass rushers, run stoppers ever. And then you have Jalen Ramsey on the outside. That's a formula for success. NFC South, Bucs, obviously the defending Super Bowl champs. They didn't lose any one of their starters. We'll get into them, with the Cowboys game a little bit later, but did not lose a starter from their Super Bowl team. Why would they take a downfall here when we saw all these people leaving New Orleans? Atlanta's still a dumpster fire, and Carolina's a fringe, but who's really taking the throne from Tom Brady in Tampa? Like, it's not happening. And number three, I got the Packers in the NFC North. So I'm looking at the rest of the division. I'm just not sold on any of those teams. Vikings, Bears. Bears got a situation at quarterback. And then finally, I know Adam said the Eagles will win the division. As much as I want to pick them to win,
I thought he was going to say it. I thought he was going to say it.
I got the Washington football team. I have to be realistic here. I'm looking at a formula. While I say the Eagles have a pretty good defense on paper going into this season, Washington football team has a great defense going into the season. And we look at the question marks with Jalen Hurts. Similar. I would probably take Jalen Hurts over Ryan Fitzpatrick, but Fitzpatrick is inconsistent. So we'll see about that, if he can even last the whole season as a starter. But they got plethora of weapons on the outside, enough to get by, I feel like, in our division.
Man. So I again, Scotty, listen, guys, I promise we don't share notes. We don't give each other predictions before we go live here. We had the same division, projections for the AFC. We have the same in the NFC. The Washington football team, listen, I want to say the Eagles. I would love to say the Eagles, and it's not out of the question It's not out of the question for the Cowboys to win this division, but the Washington football team has probably a top 3 or 5 defensive unit in the league.
Yeah.
I am an Antonio Gibson believer. I like Terry McLaurin a lot.
Yeah.
What is it? Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
A lot of people are high on him this year. Listen, I'm not sold on Fitzpatrick to be a world beater this season, okay? And he is very inconsistent. But what's inconsistent in this division? Does 8 and 9? Listen, I know I put the Eagles at 9 and 8, right? But that's not a positive. Could Washington win division at 8 and 9 with him? Yeah. So I got Washington winning this division. And then Tampa Bay. You mentioned Tom Brady you mentioned someone taking it from Tom. No one's taking it from Tom. Tom gives it up. Tom gives it up. He doesn't get it taken. So Tampa Bay and Tom Brady will win the NFC South. The Packers, I believe, will probably be back in the NFC Championship game this year. I love Aaron Rodgers, and I just think the dude's on a mission this year. And I think that Green Bay finds himself back in the NFC Championship. And then what am I missing? The LA Rams, probably the toughest division in all football, the most fun and exciting division this year. I absolutely love the Matt Stafford fit in LA. That defense is probably the best defense in football. Obviously they lost Cam Akers, but Sony Michel's a nice little pickup next to Darrell Henderson. So
the key for the Rams, and as much as we praise Matthew Stafford, it's going to be him staying healthy. They're one Matthew Stafford injury away from being at the bottom of the division, in my opinion.
But at the same point, at the same time, everybody.
Yeah.
The Packers are a Aaron Rodgers injury away from the bottom of their division. So I know what you mean. You're right. But, he's been pretty healthy. I mean, Matthew Stafford's been banged up over his career. But I don't think he's ever been put out for a long period of time for the most part. So those are my division winners. My wild card winners really quickly. I got 2 representatives from the NFC West, the 49ers and the Cardinals. That's right. The Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson aren't on that list. I think they're finishing 4th in the NFC West this year. I think the 49ers are back into contention this year. They were banged up with injuries and COVID last year. Whether it's Jimmy G, a game manager, or whether it's Trey Lance, that defense is legit. I like some of their weapons. I love Kyle Shanahan's play calling. 49ers, Cardinals. I'm a believer in Kyler as far as, putting up numbers, and that offense is going to put up numbers this year. And I think their defense is better than people expect. I love their linebackers. I love Budda Baker, and they picked up J.J. Watt if he can stay healthy. The third one, dude, was a complete and utter crapshoot. I have no idea who I wanted to put here. It could have been the Eagles. It could have been the Cowboys. I wasn't putting 2 NFC East teams in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I'm not a believer in Kirk Cousins and the Vikings to get back there. Listen, the Saints, I'll throw that name to you. I don't have anyone written down. I'm going to say the Saints. Jameis, I don't trust whatsoever, but that defense is still really good. Alvin Kamara is still there. If Jameis, can just be okay, I guess they could be the 7 seed.
Them starting Jameis made me a little bit more comfortable with the Saints. I'm not going to lie.
They don't have a running back / awful wide receiver playing quarterback.
So I got the same 2 teams from the NFC West. I got San Fran and Arizona. I think
it's the Seahawks. Say the Seahawks. Say all 4 teams from the NFC West make the playoffs.
You never know. You never know. But I do got San Fran and Arizona. Unfortunately, I do have the Seahawks finishing last in that division. Very well could change. All 4 of these teams can compete. But I do just I think San Fran, they had a down year last year due to injuries. That's all I'm gonna, accumulate it to. I think they bounce back if they can stay healthy. Jimmy G, as much as people down Jimmy G, he had just taken them to a Super Bowl. So
that's what I'm saying.
He's not that huge of a detractor for the San Francisco 49ers. No, but we'll see how the defense does after losing the defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. But, usually when you have chemistry, when you have a fluid defense, you got leaders in the defense, usually that translates. They get Bosa back this year. They get their whole defensive line back. Arizona, I'm with you. Young stud in Kyler Murray. Hopefully get to see him take the next step this year. Has a plethora of weapons. As I told you before the show here, Rondale Moore is like skyrocketing right now. He must be really impressing everybody at camp, and I can't wait to see that explosive offense. Didn't even mention DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, all of them. James Conner, picked up James Conner. They got a nice duo in the backfield now. But yeah, I got the Cardinals there. And then went to the same division, and I'm sure you may have thought about it, but the Panthers, that, the Saints are the only other team that I maybe would have thought about putting in there.
Sammy D getting in the postseason. Look at this.
It sounds like a joke to say it out loud,
Yeah.
right? But like, this is where we're at. So when you have 7 teams from each conference in the division, you're gonna have team in there, at least one. So we were getting teams, with 6 teams making the playoffs in a conference. So I got the Panthers. The way I look at it, they're set up to kind of hide if the flaws that Sam Darnold has. When you have a back like CMC coming out of the backfield, he can protect the quarterback himself, just being that safety valve, making, yak yards after catch, and just ultimately bailing him out with the run game. He does have weapons on the outside, Robbie Anderson. They picked up Marshall Jr. from LSU. DJ Moore, obviously, we're high on him. But they got a plethora of weapons on offense. Defense is what I'll be waiting on. I'll wait and see on that. And by no means are they a lock to make the playoffs, or is this my, sleeper team or something? Yeah. Well, just a team I kind of like what they're doing there in Carolina. That's all.
Man. We agree for the most part. All divisions we agree with, and for the most part, the wild cards as well. And I know we didn't get to our Super Bowl picks yet, and we will in a second because I'll bring them in. But you know who we didn't put on that list? The Detroit Lions. And with that
oh my God, that's the worst segue of all time.
With that being said, welcome to the biggest Lions fan I know, the only Lions fan I know, by the way. And if you are a Lions fan, Jason, you are in the Detroit area, call up your organization and tell them to give my friend from my alma mater, Craig Reynolds, a call to the actual team and not just the practice squad. Okay.
Hey, you know what? I was gonna segue with some Eagles talk when I came on the show tonight, but then you had to throw me under the bus with the Lions talk. So I don't know if I even want to share this, but the Eagles are 100-1 odds to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
Wow.
Hey, I'll put $1 on it.
We'll lose $1, Scotty, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. Listen, I was messing around. I know we didn't address the Cubbies because they're not Lions anymore. They're Cubs until they prove otherwise. But I didn't put the Eagles on that list either, so I can't really talk too much shit. But before we get into the fantasy football and betting side of things tonight, Scott, we do have Super Bowl predictions to make.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Jason, I don't know if you're a prediction kind of guy, if you throw out predictions like this.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to throw out your Super Bowl predictions, you can lead us off, dude.
I'm not really going to surprise anybody, I don't think. I think the Chiefs get back, and I think they're on a mission this year. So I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I think they're going to beat the Packers. So not a little bit of an upset because I think the Bucs are really good too. I just think Aaron Rodgers is going to be on a mission again this year too, and Devontae Adams. He's in the last year of his contract too. So I think Chiefs over Packers for me.
Listen, I mean, the Chiefs Bucs is, I think, a lot of people's picks, and definitely the two probably best teams in each conference right now. But history will tell you that's probably not too likely. Your Super Bowl is actually the Super Bowl that I want to see. If the Eagles aren't in the Super Bowl, I want to see 2 of the best, most talented quarterbacks go at it on the biggest stage. And a Mahomes Rodgers Super Bowl, with Rodgers probably out the door of Green Bay. I would love nothing more than to see that. I'm going a little bit outside the box because I didn't want to do it. Obviously, the Chiefs are probably my favorites to get in, but I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills because they were that close last year, and I think they can get back to that this year. I think Josh Allen continues to take the next step. And I'm going with the LA Rams.
Okay.
I said it earlier. I love the freaking fit of Matt Stafford, a former Detroit Lion himself. In LA with that defense, in McVay's offense with Higbee and Kupp and Robert Woods. And I know Deshaun Jackson's probably going to play 1/17 of the season, but he's on the roster as of right now. Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson, that offensive line. I love it, dude. I think they win the best division in football. And if you win the best division in football, you're in the conversation. And I think it gets done this year.
Okay, so I guess I'll take a team from each of you guys' predictions. So I'm going Chiefs and I'm going Rams, man. That was honestly what I was thinking before you guys spoke, and I still believe it. I do like the Bucs and the Packers, obviously. The Bucs could easily make it back. Shouldn't say easily. Nothing's ever easy, but, in hindsight. The Packers, part of me feels like something could just go south this year. Like, I don't know why I feel this way. I guess it's all the turmoil in the offseason. I just wonder about the chemistry, stemming down from the general manager to the head coach to the quarterback. And I've seen this before, with lesser talent, of course, but just controversy in the season just never does you any favors. But maybe they can put it to the side, like Jason said. Maybe Aaron Rodgers puts his head down. Maybe Devontae Adams puts his head down, goes out there, gets what they deserve. But I am going the Rams and Chiefs. I think the Chiefs take it. As Jason, I think the Chiefs are on a mission, man. And there's a lot of people. I won't say a lot of people. There's some people out there saying, the Titans, the Bills, the Browns of the world. That's only going to fuel the Chiefs more. That they're not the astounding favorite in this to win the Super Bowl. And all they need, teams that are that talented, that have been doing it, these last couple of years, are in a groove. All they need is a little bit of bulletin board material. Yep. And that's all they need to get themselves fueled. And great teams know how to do it even without that. So I think the Chiefs get back. They beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. Hate to say it, Jason, Matthew Stafford loses in the Super Bowl. How would that feel for you I feel like you have to be happy for him to go out there if he can get in the playoffs finally and show his stuff.
Oh, 100%. I'm not going to lie. He's my favorite football player. So him going to LA and having a chance to win is really good for him. I don't know if you guys saw the stories that came out the past few days, but it sounded like him leaving Detroit was hard for him. Like, he didn't want to give up on the organization. But at the same time, for him and his family, it's the better move. He spent 12 years here getting hammered, not winning anything, kind of getting thrown under the bus for what I think is a stupid reason. He was clearly the most talented guy on the team, and he got blamed for so many of the losses. And I think him going to that team, like you guys mentioned, for all the same reasons, better offensive line, really good weapons, obviously, and a killer defense. That's a great situation for him. Plus, you're talking about living in LA versus Detroit, which, no offense to my Detroit people, but come on, that's a scenario
we deal with it in Philly as well. LA's better than everywhere.
Listen, I love Matthew Stafford. Won me my first ever fantasy football championship. So shout out to Matthew Stafford and Detroit Lions. That year, not his last year, but one of his last years with Megatron, won me my first chip. So gracias on that front.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford's been slept on the last couple of years. It's about time he gets his, respect back.
I keep saying it. As a passer, he's one of the best gunslingers out there. Like, he's got a rocket attached to his shoulder. So if he stays healthy in that system, I'm telling you, in that system, it's a problem. Like, people aren't talking about it enough.
Yeah.
Especially me too. I think that's
what I'm saying.
It's probably the best fit. And, he got knocked a lot in his career. And I think the outside perspective outside of Detroit was that he was always banged up. He got banged up his first 2 years and then played almost 10 straight years without missing a game.
I remember watching as a kid, not like a little kid, but when I was younger, it was his rookie or his second year, maybe against the Jets. He tore his shoulder was out of socket, and he went back in and won the game in the final minute. Yeah. It was insane.
Oh, his first 2 years he got hurt. He played almost 10 years straight. He ended up missing the end of the season 1 year because he had a broken bone in his back. The Lions weren't going anywhere, so obviously they're going to stay out. So the whole injury-prone thing is garbage. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's a best-case scenario for him going to LA.
Right. So I'm glad you're here to elaborate on the injury concerns with Matthew Stafford, because a lot of people just don't know that. If Detroit's not at the top of the league, then a lot of these
try bottom, pal.
Which is never, so.
See why he's drinking? He's a Lions fan.
That's right.
I want to put this comment up on the screen though, because my man Adam he made his own Super Bowl pick here, and so he thinks Carson is taking down the GOAT.
Listen, I still love Carson, but you want to talk about kicking me in the nuts as an Eagles fan. I loved Carson Wentz so much, and you're telling me he's going to leave in the year after he leaves, he gets a ring? No.
That would be, that would be 100% Philly's luck.
So if that happened, would you guys be happy for him? Would you guys be pissed?
I'd be happy for him, but I'd probably shed about 19 tears.
Yeah, I would be happy.
Not of happiness.
But pissed at the same time. Yeah.
But I'd also be extremely petty and go find all my old audio from January and December and November of last year, just to go and tell everyone, I kind of told you so. Right. But neither here nor there. He'll probably suck this year. Who knows? But Jason, we brought you on for a reason, man. Big fantasy guy, big gambling guy. the show premieres tonight. What is it? 9 p.m. right here on DSM Media. No pun intended, I believe.
Right.
There you go. Who can you?
like
Oh,
that.
be honest. Did you or Phil come up with that?
Oh, it was me. Come on.
I knew it. Phil's not good with creating show names. He admitted that to me. There's one thing that Phil's not good at. Oh my goodness.
Listen, he hosts everything. He puts it up on a tee for me, and I just try to hit it out of the park pretty much.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
There we go.
Well, man, get us started. What do you see? What do you have any in this Bucs Cowboys game tonight?
Well, first off, I think this is going to be a better game than people think it's going to be. I think everybody's hammering the Bucs, which, in my head for most of this, since they posted the line, I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, the Bucs bring back everybody. They obviously dominated in the Super Bowl last year. Dallas is an interesting team, I think, this year. Dak was on an MVP-like tear last year before he got hurt. But you have to worry about him, with the ankle, mentally, and also he's had a shoulder issue in camp too. So I worry about that a little bit too. Having said that, I feel like 9.5 is way too big of a spread for this game. I feel like the Bucs are going to win, but I actually bet on Dallas. Plus 9.5. Yeah, exactly. Because I just don't think – I think it's going to be closer. It might be 6 or 7, but I think that 9.5 is a bit of a trap.
Yeah.
I think it opened – I think like earlier in the week it was around that 7 number, right? Before it got to 8, then 8.5, then 9.5. So if you called it at 7 for everyone out there, good for you, because I do agree. I think the Bucs win, but 9.5 is a steep line to put out there, especially you don't know how the offenses are going to be on opening night.
Yeah, it's the first game of the season. That's my thing is, the Bucs can be as great as they want to be this
Thank
season.
you to this kind stranger.
What up, Gent? No, but the Bucs can be as great as they want this season, but it's the first game of the season, right? Like they're coming off the Super Bowl high. Well, it wouldn't be surprising to me if they come out sluggish.
Listen, no, I actually really like Jason's bet tonight because, not only are you getting 9.5, if you're looking for an upset early, if you're looking to knock off Tom and Tampa early, if there's ever been a time to get to Tom Brady in his career, it's early in the season.
Yeah.
It's always early in the season. Week 1, I believe, in 2016 or whenever, when they played the Chiefs on opening night and took a shellacking versus Alex Smith and Andy Reid. So if there's a time to get to Tom, it's week 1 and early in the year. So,
yeah.
You know what? The only thing that really worries me about this game for Dallas is the fact that they're going to play without their best offensive lineman and with Zeke, their best offensive player, and Zach Martin. I mean, all-pro guard. He's an absolute stud. He's the anchor for that offensive line. He's on the COVID list right now, so he's not going to play tonight. So that makes me a little bit nervous, especially with the front 4 and the front 7 that Tampa Bay has. So that makes me a little bit nervous, especially because Zeke put such an emphasis on it. That's obviously a huge loss for them. But I think Dallas is going to be on a mission. I know you guys don't want to hear that as Philly fans, but I feel like Dak has something to prove, and he was playing out of his mind last year before he got injured. And that offense is loaded, and I think they can definitely keep it close against Tampa.
So this is a more of a football question for you then, because let me throw this to both of you then, because everyone's just putting, like, Dallas fans. I've listened to Phil's show with 2 Cowboys fans a couple weeks ago, and neither one of them were too worried about Dak coming off this injury because he's healthy now and yada yada. Forget that, dude. He's a human being that hasn't been touched since a bone was sticking out of his freaking leg.
Yeah.
So what's that mental hurdle? Like, does that play a factor into tonight's game? Does he get rid of the ball too soon because he doesn't want to get touched? Do you think that's a big concern tonight? Forget like the injuries, just the mental side of things.
You want to go ahead?
Oh, you want me to? Yeah, I was gonna let you digress, Jason, but no. I totally agree, especially against this front 7 of the Bucs. I mean, they're gonna get after him.
Yes.
And what I'm worried about is Dak used to be a mobile quarterback. He's a guy, he's not going to run first. He's not a run first quarterback, but he's a guy that can get out of the pocket and make some plays with his legs. How willing is he going to be to do that? How willing is the Cowboys offensive coordinator, Mike McCarthy? How are they going to be? How are they going to feel as far as calling plays for him to get out of the pocket?
As an
He's
Eagles
going to be
fan,
under pressure all night.
As an Eagles fan, didn't we see that the year after Carson tore his ACL?
Yeah.
His game changed.
Yeah.
So, Jason, what do you think? Does Dak overcome a mental hurdle tonight, or does it show tonight?
I think it shows a little bit. I don't know how it doesn't. I mean, we've seen this injury a lot of times, not so many with football players, but we've seen it with, Paul George and different basketball players, Livingston, like guys that struggled a lot when they first came back.
You don't got guys diving at your legs and trying to take your head off.
Exactly. So I mean, I would think that it's in their game plan, like you said, with McCarthy and the offensive coordinator, is to get the ball out quick. You don't want Dak taking tons of shots. You definitely don't want a repeat of what happened to Mahomes in the Super Bowl. You don't want him taking 20 hits in the backfield. So you got to kind of wonder a little bit what their game plan looks like in what they come out.
Oh, I just saw Gin's comment.
Yeah.
If it doesn't cover, George Ryder will be on the new network on Friday.
But no, with Dak, it is interesting, man. And when you talk about Matty Daddy, and I believe it was Spoon of Zeke that was on Phil's show. As a Cowboys fan, I would say that too, right? Like you want to instill confidence in your QB, but I remember I said the same things about Carson Wentz after he tore his ACL, after he broke his back. Every time that dude ended up on the ground, I held my breath. Yep. Every time you see his leg bend the wrong way, you hold your breath. Every time a lineman falls on the back of his heel, you hold your breath. It's going to be like that all night tonight, and it won't. It'll disappear over time as you see him play more and more. But every once in a while, you're just going to wonder. You know what I mean? And it's not just the ankle; it's his shoulder too, because apparently the ankle was hampering the shoulder. And so, I know people think that Dak is going to come back, light the world on fire. There's some people that are picking him as MVP, and he very well may be. If he comes out and plays like he did before or even better, he definitely could be. I'm not 100% sold that he can. That was a freak. It was a freak injury. His bone was sticking out of his – and I can't imagine looking at my foot and seeing that. But he's also a guy that has went through a ton of stuff throughout his life, losing his mother – a ton of stuff, losing his brother. So, it's hard to doubt him, but at the same time, he, like you said,
but when does too much pile on?
Exactly. He's a human being.
What I will say about the MVP comment, because I feel like I know who you're talking about, Scotty. He who, will not be named, who doesn't leave me the hell alone. What's the name? You got to win games as well to win the MVP. And what was going on last year, the numbers were definitely there. Except they were on their way to being 1-3 or 1-4 to start last year, and those numbers were coming in the second half of games because they were down 21-0. So I digress. That's why those numbers were so high. But Jason, heading into tonight, man, any fantasy football plays you like tonight between these two teams?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few, but I think it's definitely receiver heavy for me tonight. I love CeeDee Lamb going to the game. I think his price is fair. So if you're going to play the showdown, I like him in the captain slot quite a bit. Love Antonio Brown. I think his price at $5,600. To me, I mean, I don't think there's a heck of a lot of difference between those three receivers from Tampa. And if you're going to get a guy at $5,600, I feel like that price, I'm saying fantasy-wise, not because, he's going to get the targets. But I think $5,600 is way too good of a price for him. And then I like coming back with Dak. I think saving almost $6,000 from Brady to Dak is that's a huge savings for a guy that could easily put up bigger numbers. And that's the one thing about Brady is I don't want to call him a game manager because that's a slap in the face for the best QB of all time, but he doesn't really wow you with stats.
Right, as far as fantasy football goes.
Yeah, exactly.
It could turn into a game manager role tonight. With as bad as the Cowboys defense is, one of my keys for the Bucs that I put into the game, establish the run. You don't need to put Tom Brady out there at risk against the Cowboys. Get the run going, run the ball down their throat. We saw the Browns put up like 300 rushing yards on them last year. What did they do to improve it? Let's see. But I would be heavy in the run if I'm Tampa Bay tonight. As far as Dallas, I'm with you, Jason, on Dak. I think he's going to have to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to stuff the run. They're the number one rushing defense from last year. So I think they are going to stuff Zeke, and I think Dak is the guy you play there just because he's going to throw the ball a lot.
So from a Dylan Davis point of view, Jason, would you tonight? So it involves partially tonight. So I have a Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen connection in my family league, and then I have Jalen Hurts and Chris Godwin on my bench. Chargers are in Washington week 1. As of right now, Chris Godwin and Jalen Hurts are in my lineup. Do I roll with the connection of Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, or do I roll out Jalen Hurts and Chris Godwin tonight?
I like Hurts and Godwin, to be honest with you. I don't like the matchup for the Chargers at all. And I don't like – obviously, we saw Herbert play really well last year, so you don't know which is going to affect him. But Washington has a really good defense, especially at front seven. Yeah. So you got to worry about Herbert being under pressure pretty much the entire game. So I could see that being a really ugly game. So I love Hurts. Hurts is actually a little segue to our show later, but Hurts is actually, I think, my favorite fantasy play of the week this week.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow.
And I think Chris Godwin is always seems it was like this last year too. Like, Evans gets the touchdowns,
Yeah.
Antonio Brown gets a lot of publicity too, but Chris Godwin's just really solid. So
Yeah.
is he gonna light the world on fire and put up 180 yards? No, but 100 and a touchdown is definitely feasible. So I like option 2 for you.
Give it to me. All right, guys. We are over the hour mark here, Scotty. And
As we do.
the game, I believe, begins in about 14 minutes. I'm sure it'll begin later than this, but it is slated for an 8:20 kickoff. So before we wrap up Turf Talk here, our first ever Thursday show, we will be doing it live Thursday at 7 p.m. all season long, and of course Sunday at 10 a.m. getting you ready for a full slate of games there. Bucs, Cowboys. Jason, I know you got Cowboys plus 9.5, but strictly money line from a game point of view. Who do you like tonight?
I like Bucs. I'll say 34-30.
34-30. High scoring. So he's got the over, guys. He's got the over. Scotty, what do you got?
I'm not going to lie to you. I may throw when we get off here, I may throw some money on the Cowboys to win the game just because I can make some money on it. But I do tend to agree with you, Jason. I think it's not going to be a double-digit game. I don't believe in that. I see it more as a 27-20 type of victory for the Bucs. Defense still shows solid. They're still looking solid. Cowboys, they have a great offense. They have great skill players. But you're going to see a team that won the Super Bowl last year, and they won the Super Bowl by playing solid defense. If the Bucs come out sluggish, I could see it get into the 30s, like Jason said there. But I do have the Bucs by 7, 27-20.
I got the Bucs by 7 as well, but a little bit different of score. I got Bucs 31, Cowboys 24. Quick plug here for DraftKings. We're not a sponsor yet, but hopefully at some point, DraftKings guys. What is it? It's Bucs plus 74.
74.
50 max bet wins 95. Free $45, guys. Just go into your DraftKings account and put that in real quick. That's what I got going on tonight.
Yep.
And then for all you Jersey people, obviously, Scotty, you're not, Jason, you're not, but points bet, $20 risk free. You get it back if your bet loses.
Nice.
On a same game parlay in tonight's game. So I got some wild shit going on tonight.
Too? FanDuel is doing the same thing. FanDuel's doing, I think, up to $10 for a bet. Any bet that you bet week 1, you get it back.
I gotta hop on that. We got to get off here.
Yeah, I gotta hop on that too. All right, guys. So thank you so much, Jason, for joining us. Guys, give him a follow on Twitter at JSully2121. My man Scotty, my co-host of Turf Talk and the host of Scotty Talks NBA. Follow him on Twitter at Scotty Drowned. You can follow me on Twitter at DylanJD98. And of course, follow DSM Media on Twitter at DSM_media. Follow us on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel on every social media platform you can find content on.
We will throw the link tree in the comments.
It will be in there.
Look for it. You can find us on all social media platforms.
All right. And as an Eagles fan, I think I speak for everyone. Go Bucs and have a nice night.